why you're here, because partly why people kind of get into my work, is often they share the same journey as me, which is the fortress of truth that I built began to crack. The certainties that I had began to crumble. And I had a choice. The choice was to recede back even deeper into my 3 volumes of Josh McDowell or whatever, or go with this and see where it would lead. And of course, the fear is if I embrace the lack, if I embrace the questioning, if I embrace all of that stuff, it's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be disastrous. I'm going to fall apart. The weird thing is that doesn't seem to happen. In therapy, it's similar. In psychoanalysis, people go in because they're standing beside this trapdoor, and there's all these monsters in the trapdoor, and there's like these tentacles coming out, and you're at the therapist because you're going, keep me away from there. It's trying to drag me in. There is this dark pit that I want to avoid. Help me. And the therapist says, I'm here to throw you in. Right? The very place you don't want to go is the very place a therapist is going to push you. But then, of course, the crazy thing is, this is the dialectic of you lose your life, you find it, etc., etc. You go in there and you realize, oh, that's where healing and transformation happens, in entering that pit and looking at and wrestling with the dark stuff. But you don't go to therapy for that. You go to therapy to escape that. You go to therapy to be fixed, to be made whole. The worst thing about therapy is when you realize that that's not what's happening. That the therapist is actually asking you to go in there and is not promising that you'll be fixed and happy at the end of it. Freud once said, my job is to make misery into everyday unhappiness. Right? So there you go. There's the good news of psychoanalysis. I'll take misery and make it into everyday unhappiness. But I understand this. I understand it in my own life. I went through a period of obsession and depression. And at that time, I was so focused on my issue, which is kind of like a scapegoat. I was kind of like focusing on something that was, causing me great pain and all of that. But the problem was this: I couldn't focus on anything else. I was completely obsessed with one thing. I was completely focused on one thing. And I remember the point when I started to worry about normal things, like, oh, am I going to, can I pay the rent, or can I, how can I write this next book? I started to worry about normal things, right? And that was victory, because I couldn't worry about anything but this. I couldn't have everyday unhappiness. So I was so happy when I got everyday unhappiness. It was like, brilliant, this is fantastic. I'm worried and I'm unhappy about normal things. Right? Where the misery was so all-encompassing. So, why was I saying that? But what did I just say before that? No, before that. Lose your life, you find. Oh yes, dialectic. Yeah, thank you. Lose your life, you find it. So, going into that place of darkness and oh yeah. You don't pay the therapist to do that. You pay the therapist to get you out. Then the therapist pushes you in. But if the therapist told you at the start that that's what they were doing, you'd never do it. So it has to kind of happen gradually. And you go into that place, and then you come out, yes, not fixed, not happy, but with everyday unhappiness. And that's amazing. Everyday unhappiness is wonderful. It gives us something to talk about in the pub. It's like, good grief, what would you talk about if you didn't have everyday unhappiness? It would be disastrous. It would be depressing, right? So this structure is similar for me for the church. We think that God is going to fix us, make us whole, make us complete. The role of the church is to give us that. But actually, I think a healthy community is a community that says, no, you have to go into the doubt, the unknowing, the brokenness. God is not the object that is going to save you and bring you out of that. That's the problem. That's the false God. Actually, you go into this space of lack and unknowing and doubt, and you find the absolute, the divine there. So it's a different way of understanding what faith is. And that's the reason why I say some of you will be here, because that fortress began to crack.